Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant and this is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. To all the new subscribers, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for trusting me and talking to me. Thank you so much for all the emails. So today I wanted to talk about let's see how to put it, the trauma bonding and not dissociation, the cognitive dissonance. There we go, the cognitive dissonance. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to break away? What is it that you're going through? And I may come up with another title at the end of the video as I'm talking, but the point that I was trying to get to is this. A lot of you are coming out of these toxic relationships with narcissists, those that, that we assume that have all the signs and symptom of, or has been verified, or, the relationship that you've been in. And for many of you, you've been watching these videos and many other videos by other coaches and counselors, and you have identified, this is the behavior that is congruent with narcissistic personality disorder. You have to remember that there are some professionals that do provide more of a clinical perspective about narcissism and personality disorder and cluster B personality disorder. And you can almost tell those that are more clinical and research focused rather than experiential. When I say experiential, that's not meaning working with people that have been abused by a narcissist. I mean personal experience. There's a difference between working with people that have experienced it and logging data and seeing the similarities, just like many of you seeing the similarities of all the experiences and writing the data and doing the statistics and doing the research. But when you yourself as a professional have been through it yourself, you can relate to each and every client and each and every person that talks about narcissist abuse, and you won't judge, others so quickly because you understand. You have empathy. Go watch my podcast. I talked about it, but you have empathy, not just cognitive empathy where you understand, but I'm talking about emotional empathy, where the affective or the effective empathy, meaning not only do you understand, you also understand what it feels like. So not only do you register in your mind, you also understand because of the experience. So now coming out of the relationship, most people are struggling because, you've been trauma bonded to this individual, and the same chemicals in the brain, for example, I talked about it in a previous video, the oxytocin that is produced when a woman gives birth to a child. That oxytocin creates a bond between mother and child. Now, true enough, there are some dysfunctions. There are some after the child has been born, sometimes the mother goes through, I can't think of the name. Somebody gonna put it on here, but sometimes the mother goes through that emotional, what is it called? Not the prenatal, but the depression, and I know the word, it's on the tip of my tongue, but the depression, postpartum depression, there we go. Someone put it as I was talking, so thank you. But a postpartum depression where they start having problems bonding with the baby. Now, I'm not talking about those issues. What I'm talking about is the oxytocin that's being released to that creates the bond between the mother and the child. Well, that same oxytocin, that same chemical is released when you are bonding with that narcissist. That narcissist is causing that chemical to be released, and you are bonding with this individual. Not only that, the dopamine and all the chemicals that causes addictions, and those are the same chemicals for drug and alcohol addictions. Those are the same chemicals for food addiction, porn addiction, shopping addiction, hoarding. Those same chemicals that are being released that causes those particular type of addictions and dysregulation in your system is the same type of chemicals that are being released as you're attaching to an individual that is traumatically being bonded to, that you are traumatically being bonded to through the gaslighting, through the trauma, through the love bombing, back and forth. It's your mind, your body, your whole soul, everything is being dysregulated. You come out of these relationships with like a fog, like you cannot think. It's almost like you cannot think for yourself because someone has forced themselves to think on your behalf. What is wrong is now right. What is right is now wrong. Up is down, back is forth and forth is back. Everything, you have problems even making simple decisions on a daily basis. Simple decisions, you question it, and you try to find affirmation, you try to find confirmation from other people, for, you have learned to manipulate. In a relationship with in domestic violence, the survivor or the victim has learned coping mechanisms and has learned to manipulate to get their needs met. So a lot of times you come out of these relationships with the narcissist questioning whether you're the narcissist too, and so you will see that a lot of times you don't know what you're dealing with. And especially, as young people, when we're young and we get into a relationship, we don't know how to have a relationship. We're fumbling and trying to make the thing work, unless you have a mentor or elders, or someone that helps you in the marriage and help you be a wife, help you be a husband, teach you something about relationship. And most time we jump in and we don't know what we're doing. We're trying to do something. We don't know what we're doing. And so you learn as you grow and you fumble, but in a relationship with a narcissist, the narcissist tries to cut people off where you are totally focused and totally dependent on them. So you are totally now addicted to them. So when you come out, it's almost like you've been in a bubble. And it's like being in prison. You've been in prison, so you come out and people are using cell phones that doesn't have a cord, and you're accustomed to rotary phones. So you come out and people are walking around with cell phones and there's no cord. And they're wondering, like, what is this? Never seen a computer before, never seen an iPhone. They're looking at things and they're looking at people and pictures on a telephone, and people are talking to them on a phone, And so that's the same way when you come out of a relationship with a narcissist. It's like you are having this, first of all, you have a brain fog. Number two, you're afraid of making any decisions for yourself. Number three, you come and you don't trust anybody because you assume, because they've told you that people are not trustworthy, that they're the only person that you can trust. The struggle that you're having is if you say you love me, then why would you treat me that way? And the only reason why I act this way is because of you, this and that and this, and you do this and that and this and this. So 9 times out of 10, you come out of the relationship, and if asked, the biggest struggle that most people have, and it is heartbreaking. I mean, I'll just be honest with you, even as a therapist, because I go, you help someone get through, and you've worked with them for maybe a year or so, and you've gotten them to a certain point of recovery, and they finally, it finally registers. Then you get a new person and they're starting from ground zero. And that's why a lot of therapists, a lot of coaches, burn out, because this is a cycle that they have. The intensity of providing services and helping victims and those that are recovering from and those that are survivors of this type of abuse can be emotionally draining, because you're watching this happen over and over and over and over again. A lot of people that come onto the YouTube channel, these are people that are just been discarded or, been narc free for 3 weeks. Some of you, I've been narc free for narc free for 8 years. It makes it 12 years. It makes it 6 months. So everybody's at a different stage of healing. But imagine the person that's working with you, and imagine if that individual, whether it's a therapist, a coach, working with different people at different levels of the recovery, that's a lot of energy. And a lot of times there's vicarious trauma that's suffered by the therapist as well. So if the therapist putting that much energy into, helping and going through the cognitive dissonance with the client, or with people that are seeking help, imagine the struggle is and this is what I hear all the time. I hear this all the time. I know that he or she is a narcissist. I understand that logically you have the head knowledge that what they're doing is wrong and it's not right. And I understand it. And I watch the videos, Dr. C, and I understand, and I do a lot of research and I get it. But I'm struggling because that is still the mother of my child. That is still the father of my child. We have this length of relationship. I'm emotionally struggling. Of course, you are emotionally connected to another human being. You are literally addicted to another person. You have picked up on their, especially if you've been with them for a long time, you have picked up on their ways, the way that they talk, the way that they think, their viciousness. For years, my mentor had to work with me because a lot of the things that I would say and do wasn't even me. It was the narcissist, and so but I was able to look in, and I felt bad because I did not want to be like that. And so a lot of you are struggling, and I paid attention. I focused to make sure that I paid attention when it was brought to my attention. I paid attention how I talked to people. I paid attention at things, and then it didn't make it any better. I was in the military. So in the military, you just suck it up, buttercup, and say what I got to say, hey, roll out and ask questions later, so it didn't make it any better, just to talk crazy sometimes, but once it was brought to my attention, I was able to look within, and you guys are able to look within, and you determine, I don't want to be like that. That's all, because you have that emotional empathy. You understand what it was. You have the cognitive and emotional empathy, and you understand what it felt like. So you don't want to do other people like that. So those that are asking the question, am I the narcissist? And the first thing I hear that usually comes out of their mouth is, I understand that I was not, I wasn't the best husband that I could have been. I could have done this, 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 and this, or I could have been a better mother. I could have been a better wife, and I know that, everybody makes mistakes, and I made mistakes too. And I understand. And a lot of times what she said, and she was right about that, but the problem becomes is that cognitive dissonance is like, the truth, you understand, but it's hard for you to put it in proper perspective, or put the accountability back into the lap of the abuser. I don't care what you do or say, as long as you don't put your hands on anybody else, because they have the right to defend themselves. But, even your mouth, you can't psychologically abuse someone and expect them, and you expect them not to fight back. You don't know how they're going to fight back, because words are very vicious. Words are very painful. Psychological abuse, bruises go away. Broken bones heal. Now, true enough, and I'm not referring to those that have been maimed and lost an eye, in a wheelchair on life support. I'm not talking about that severity. But what I'm saying is bruises heal, bones heal. Bones heal, bruises heal and fade away. Psychological torment and psychological damage lasts for years and years and years and years and years. You even forget that you have a crooked finger. You forget that you had a piece of your ear bit off. But psychologically, you're tormented, nightmares. You can hear their voice echoing in your head. You can hear, like in the book. In my book, I was talking about one of the ladies in there could hear, I think is in my book. I have to go back and look. I think I put that in the book. But one of the ladies could hear her son screaming when her husband was abusing the son. And it echoed in her head for years and years and years and years. And it bothered her because it was like a loop playing in her head. Your brain tries to make sense and tries to rationalize the trauma that you've been through. It relives and tries to find the details and tries to put it, in the loop. And then you feel guilty because I couldn't save my child and I couldn't do this. And then you finally come to realization, I was afraid. And the narcissist telling, I think I was in the book, the narcissist telling the individual, look at you, you're a sorry parent because you couldn't even defend your own children when the mother was terrified herself. So terrified, she didn't even know how to protect her own kids. So she lived in guilt for years, had post-traumatic stress, and heard her son screaming. And it was a loop that played in her head over and over. That trauma, it played over and over and over and over. So the brain is trying to process. The brain is trying to make sense. The brain, you're trying to forgive yourself, and it's hard to forgive yourself because you hear it in the back of your mind. So imagine how traumatized people are. You're dealing with the cognitive dissonance. So you understand that this is happening, this is going on, but I can't get beyond the emotions because the emotions seem like they're stronger than the logic. And so back and forth, you're dealing with, I know the truth, but I'm struggling with this. And then you're going withdrawals. So the emotional withdrawals coming out of that situation, and then the trauma bonding that caused you to be addicted to the individual. So what you have to do is, and I know this is hard to hear, but even when a person has been addicted to heroin, drugs and alcohol, you can get clean. But then it's the psychological addiction. So sometimes it's not good. Some people have done it, but sometimes it's not good to just go cold turkey without any help, because you have to understand the psychological addiction. And to prevent relapse, you need to get into some type of chemical dependency counseling for people like, for example, heroin addiction. To detox off of heroin, you can die. So they recommend medical detoxification, with methadone treatment or Suboxone to be medically evaluated and monitored while they're coming down off of these, and they're having the withdrawals and the shakes, and they give them a little medication to help them through the withdrawals, and medically they're making sure they're watching them, same with alcohol. If a person has been addicted to high levels of alcohol, to stop suddenly can kill them. And so they need to be medically monitored as well. So if this is the case dealing with chemical dependencies and drug addiction, and it's a dysregulation, imagine what you're going through coming out of a relationship that, even though it was not normal, your body has adjusted to it and your pain tolerance is high. So you're going through this withdrawals, and you may not have the shakes. Sometimes you might, and you're thinking about this individual, and you're pushing aside all the horrible things, and you much rather be with them, but I don't want to be with them, and I know what they did. And some of you have went through the child abuse part where they abuse your kids, and you're struggling back and forth, and you're afraid to say anything because people are going to think you're crazy because they don't understand this type of abuse. And so the struggle back and forth. So imagine me as a therapist or coaches that have to deal, especially trauma professionals. Trauma professionals burn out very rapidly if they don't monitor or take care of themselves. And so imagine, and for example, I remember in a previous video, I was speaking about Miss Sarah Speaks, because I used to, when I first started, I used to listen to Angie Atkinson, Associate Direct, Quinn Holiday, Sarah Speaks, Melanie Tonya Evans. There was another one. Line Fire, somebody, Dr. Les Carter, and so a lot of those individuals I used to listen to, and I was listening to because I was like, oh, I get it, I understand, and there's a language to it, and I began to study it and everything. But I remember when Miss Sarah Speaks came on, and she said that she was getting ready to change, that she's run her course, and that she's burnt out. It's like being re-traumatized, and people actually had something negative to say. And she came on camera and she says, I'm burnt out, and what they were accustomed to was her being a coach and coming on and coaching. You have to know that when you are a person, this is a very intense and very high conflictual type of, if that's the proper term, very intense type of coaching and counseling, trauma counseling, especially those coming out of situations that dealt with narcissist abuse, because the victim or the survivor oftentimes is just as manipulative as the narcissist. Does that make them a narcissist? No, it does not. But that's all they know how to do in order to get their needs met. That's all they know how to do in order to get support in what they need. They've learned to manipulate people to get what they need, because guess who they learned it from? The narcissist that manipulated them. And so in order to get their needs, they had to out manipulate the narcissist or continue to manipulate. And I mean, there are people that said, I had to wait until we got into the love bombing stage to get money to pay bills or to buy food. So sometimes they would invoke the argument to go ahead and get the, when the tension building phase, they hurry up and invoke the argument to get them into the blow up so they can get into the love bomb or the, the honeymoon phase so they can get their needs met. And so a lot of survivors have learned to manipulate, have learned to lie, have learned to manipulate emotions, to get their needs met. And it becomes frustrating for a therapist or a coach that doesn't understand the effects of coming out of a relationship like that. It is a very high, for medical professionals, therapists, domestic violence advocates, those that are in the helping field, a lot of times they also experience vicarious trauma, so they're traumatized by the client's trauma. And then the burnout, because you're doing this all day long. I'm a therapist. I have clients come in all day long. Sometimes clients come in just for a checkup, just for maintenance. They're moving to a new job, they're a new career, they're nervous about it. They just need some guidance, they just need some encouragement, set some goals. But most of the time, people don't go to the hospital because they're well. They go to the hospital because they're sick. So when they come to counseling, a lot of times they're not coming to counseling because they're super well. They're coming into counseling because they've got problems and they need some problems to be solved. And sometimes those problems run deep and they're traumatic. And so imagine having to do this on a continuous basis, especially the coaches, if you don't, there's self-care. And sometimes what happens is that the coaches or, counselors, they want to help so bad that they don't put boundaries up for themselves, and they burn out, and they start, when a burnout happens, it gets to a point where you could care less what a person says. It's not that you don't care anymore. It's just you start feeling like, I'm hearing the same thing over and over. I'm burnt out. I don't want to hear it anymore. I don't want to talk about it. And that's when you have to take a break. So when people need to take a break, don't get mad at them, because you're one person that's watching this video. And as you're watching it, there are thousands of other people that are watching it too. And so not only are you watching it and making a comment, there are hundreds and thousands of emails that come in and phone calls that come through constantly, text messages, phone calls, messages, inboxes, Facebook inboxes. And everybody says the same thing. I'm hurting so bad. Can you answer this question for me? And it's not a bad thing, because, if we didn't have the problems, we wouldn't have a job, but at the same time, everybody's at a different stage of healing. People are in shock. People are traumatized. And you have to remember, when people are hurt and they find something, this is mostly for those of you that are in the helping field, want to get into the helping field, want to get into coaching, or thinking about getting into counseling. So this is kind of a pep talk for you guys as well, to be prepared, because if emotionally you're not ready to get into this type of work, it can drain you. And not only will it drain you, you'll feel obligated to answer every email, every phone call, every text message, every inbox, and then some of it is very heartbreaking. I've got emails that come through that look like a chapter in a book, and because I'm waiting for my glasses to come in, it's too much, and so a lot of times people also get mad. They'll call you a narcissist, because you have learned to put up your boundaries. Remember, you can offend people by putting up your boundaries. Well, you definitely will offend a narcissist by putting up your boundaries. But even with people that are hurt and they find something that's good, and when it's good information, and when it makes them feel better, when they get off the camera and they feel, not the camera, but they get off watching the videos and they feel good, and they feel hopeful, and they feel like they got some pep in their step. And you guys know I come on here and wobble my head and crack jokes and everything, and that's for any other counselor or coach that comes on and talks to you guys, and you feel good after I feel good, I feel empowered, You have to think there's a coach or a person on the other end that has put that much energy into doing it for you because they care. You can tell who cares and who doesn't care, and who's just doing it because they're monetized on YouTube or monetized on Facebook. You can tell that there's passion, and there's really people that really want to help. And you can tell that those people that are just throwing information out, you've come out of a bad toxic relationship, and you're accustomed to getting tidbits of information and being, made to feel as if you're ignorant, and you're not. And so when you're watching people on YouTube, on Facebook, if it's very surface information, go find something else that goes deeper. Sometimes deep is going to hurt your feelings too. Sometimes deep is going to cut you, so it's okay to get cut. But think about it. When my mentor mentored me, she had to tell me the good, bad, and the ugly. She never did it. And it felt like she hated me, Sometimes the things that she had to tell me hurt very deeply, and it made me look at myself. It made me look in. So me being able to look at myself and look within, and as you guys know, I'm a believer, and to pray about my situation and help me change, help me to heal in these particular areas, and have to focus, on how to treat people, because I had been mistreated. So I didn't care whether I mistreated people or not. Hurting people hurt people. And it was easy to do in the military. I can talk any kind of way I wanted to, and it didn't matter, because and it wasn't that I was killing people. It didn't matter, But at the same time, when she told me about myself, to correct myself, I was able to look within, and then I empathized with the people that I may have hurt. That let me know I was not a narcissist. I had narcissistic traits. And I was in a narcissistic relationship, and I had picked up on the ways of the narcissist. Many like you that have been asking me, I wonder if I'm a narcissist. And some of you guys will panic, and you started explaining yourself. Well, if you're explaining yourself, and you're trying to rationalize, but I did this, but I'm not saying justification is right, but you're trying to rationalize, like, well, I know I did this, and I know I was wrong, but this is what they were doing. you're probably not a narcissist, because you're able to look within and you feel bad about your behavior. You're probably not a narcissist, and you want to change it and you want to get better. Some things are habits. Some things you have formed habits and bad habits. Some things are reactions and not responses, and so those are things that you're having to relearn coming out of these relationships. So hopefully I wasn't just babbling. Hopefully I gave you a little information, and I was just going by some of the comments, some of the emails that were coming in, some of the things, some of the themes were very much similar. I just wanted to come on and just talk about that. Remember, when you come out, it is going to be just like the addiction and having to go to treatment. You're going to have to pull the switch. You're going to have to switch it. And whatever you have to go through in the withdrawals, you're going to have to ride this thing out. But you have to make up your mind that I'm done and I'm not going back. And with that decision, you have to understand and you have to agree, I know I'm about to go through an emotional roller coaster. I am addicted and I'm going through the withdrawals, and this is going to be hard, but you're going to make it out. You will recover if you focus on your recovery. Hit the kill switch, shut it down, be prepared. The withdrawals, the night sweats, the night terrors, the nightmares, you may have to get, for those of you that are into naturopathic means, go to a naturopathic doctor, get something to help you to calm yourself, find things to do. I think TMG used to suck on peppermint. Some of you guys like lavender, sleep with lavender. I love fragrances. And so I do a lot of fragrances. I love fragrances, because it kind of shifts the mood. It shifts the atmosphere. Some of you are into prayer, into meditation, into words of affirmation. Get to a counselor. If you deal with the med providers, get something while you're going through this process. Why I tell you guys, for those of you that are not able to get out to a counselor, you may not have transportation, you may not have the means to do it. Go check out betterhelp.com/Dr. Carmen. It is a nominal fee, a low fee, where you can, in the comfort of your home, office, or car, backyard, wherever, stairways, wherever you at, you can get online and do counseling, telephone, Skype, whatever way, a nominal fee. If you're having financial difficulties because you're coming out of these situations, let them know, because I think they will discount it for you. And then when you vet the counselors, don't look for, I can't find any of them that specialize in narcissist abuse. First of all, narcissist abuse is domestic violence. Find those that specializes in domestic violence, post-traumatic stress, trauma, not all that. And then connect with a good med provider to help you while you're going through the process. But you have to make up your mind. This is it. I'm not going back. And I'm willing to go through the withdrawal symptoms, the cognitive dissonance, the night sweats, the anxiety, the panic, the feelings. I wanted her back. I want him back. I don't want him. You're going to go back and forth. You're going to think you're crazy, but you're not crazy. It's a part of the healing process. Go through it. If you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. It's Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Make sure you share the channel. You never know who needs to hear this. You never know who's going through this, because everybody that goes through domestic violence doesn't look like they're going through domestic violence. Some people wear it very well, and they hide it very well because they have learned to be inconspicuous, to hide. They've learned to deal with it without anybody knowing. And some of these videos, you'd be surprised at how many people have walked up to me. Excuse me, y'all. But how many people have walked up to me and said, I've been watching your video. I don't even know these people. Sometimes I'm in the hair store going to get eyelashes, or, and people walk up to me like, I know you, and you have no idea how much your videos have helped me. So-and-so shared the videos and you have helped me. And you never know who you're going to help. I didn't even know who I was helping. And I think I'm amazed at people that I've been helping, with these videos. And so just like I make sure that I pay it forward, someone did it for me. My mentor spent time, bless her heart. She spent time. I'm surprised she ain't just hit me on top of the head with a chair, but she spent time in my recovery and helping me recover. And I want to pass that forward, because someone did it for me. And then I'm doing it for other people. You do it for someone. You don't know who needs to hear this video. You don't know who needs, you have no idea. Let me tell you something before I get off camera. I've had people send me emails, and the only thing the email said is, help me, please. Imagine, I'm a human being. Even though I'm a therapist and I'm a clinical trauma professional, I'm still a human being. Imagine what that must feel like. All the email says, and this is not the first time, all it says, help me, please. Please help me. Sometimes the Facebook post, please help me. Help me, please. I remember this one lady sent me an email, and the only contact she had with the outside world, she was being held hostage by her own, I don't know if it was boyfriend or husband. Her kids have been taken away. And the only, really, he let her have social media. I don't know why, but I mean, it's a good thing. But the only thing, she let me know that she was being held hostage. Her kids had been taken away. She was petrified and afraid to leave because she was afraid that he was going to kill her. I think the family was in law enforcement and social services and everything. So there was no way of escape. She had no way of escaping. And the only outlet she had was social media. So she would watch me. And I found that that she watched me. And the only thing, she gave me that much. And she said, help me, please. And so I gave her some information because I'm not going to tell you where she was at, but I gave her some information. I gave her some contact phone numbers, but I know in my heart that she probably didn't do it right away because of the fact that these videos were building her up. And so the only thing that I could do, because I don't know exactly where she was at. I know what state she was in. I just don't know where she was at. So, and the one time that she reached out, she never reached out again. So I don't know what happened. And so what I do is, because I don't know whether she's still watching. I hope she is. I don't know whether she's still watching. But sometimes you have people that can't say anything, that are being held hostage, that are watching the videos. And when you share the videos, they're watching the videos and people are sharing. And it's going through social media to other people's accounts. And what happens is there are people that are watching. And what they're doing is building their momentum. It's clearing the fog in their mind. It's giving them strength. It's giving them courage. And I remember someone emailing me saying that I escaped. I finally got away, Dr. C. I got away. You don't know who you're helping. You don't know who you're helping. So please share these videos. Help somebody. And especially nowadays where you have sex trafficking. Some of these sex traffickers are narcissists. That's what they are. And you can watch it on TV. You can, I'm not going to name the artists, but they got narcissism. Share the videos so that you can encourage and build someone. And you may be encouraging and building somebody in secret. And you have no idea that it may be the keys to their escape. So share the videos. Join me on Facebook. I know it's a long video. I'm sorry. But I think it was very relevant today. But check out Facebook. I am on one of them is Psychological Health Consultants and Services. And then my book is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse is the Facebook. If you haven't already, make sure you go out. Share this book. They need to know. People need to know that they're not crazy. Share this book, Unmasking the Illusion of Perfection. Christmas is coming up. Make it a Christmas stocking stuffer. I looked through this book and I want to apologize because when they edited the book, there's still mistakes in the book. But I want you to know that you get the point. You get the point. So I was reading through, there's some grammatical errors in there. And so, when they did the editing, there's still grammatical errors in there. But you can still get the point in the book. And so, you have Christmas coming up. Give it a stocking stuffers, give it away to, donate some books to the YWCA, donate some books to, get some books, that's how you give back. Some of you guys get together, put some money together, buy the books, and donate the books to the domestic violence shelters, to the domestic violence group, because they're not yet teaching about an individual that has narcissistic personality disorder or narcissism and how they abuse, because a lot of times they're giving basic information about domestic violence, but it doesn't go in detail. And this right here, this book tells real story about real people and how they were thinking. They're not yet teaching that. And so give it out. Go to the, hey, here's some books. I want you to share it with the women. Take it to your support groups. Take it to your counselors. Let them read it so they can start doing research. We got to get the word out. So thank you guys once again. Make sure you hit the like on my Facebook page. Make sure you hit the bell so you know whenever I come on live on Sundays, usually between 8 and 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Now, we do have a guest coming in this weekend. So there's a possibility I will not be able to come live on Sunday because I am staff. And so I will be with my leader as support. And so I may not be able to get on camera on Sunday. And so I try to do as much as I can. Check out, I have been posting on podcasts. My host podcast, my host is Podbean. And so it's not under my name, Dr. Carmen Bryant. It's under Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. You find me on Podbean, Spotify. And Spotify, I think they limited, and I went and checked on Spotify, and I think it's like limited at how many of my podcasts they post. I'm not sure because they didn't post a lot of them, but you'll find me on Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and if it's limited, because I'm on episode 10. So just go over to iHeartRadio or go over to Google Play, iTunes. Podbean is my main one, and there's some other ones too. And then support me on that. And I'm starting from ground zero on those. So, hey, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate all you guys. You guys have a wonderful evening and go be great.